Hi, it's 2 weeks since we've done a tomato post, and these haven't been touched in 2 weeks apart from giving a watering to. You would have seen how the stage I was at. So without touching them for 2 weeks, I'm going to show you what you should now be doing. Basically, the base, I've cleaned all the side shoots from. The truss is now formed, and you can see the small fruit starting to form. This is the perfect stage to start actually feeding them. Also, check back down. There's a slight sucker on the base. Someone asked, do I defoliate the bottom leaves? Yes, but I normally wait until they start to discolour. At the moment, they're still growing very nicely. But come up the plant, you'll find there are small suckers appearing. Just remove that one. We'll remove this one. You'll get one of these above every leaf axis. We now have another truss forming, so we'll tie that in. Also, I'm going to mention, 1 second, just get this tied in. Be careful you don't knock the fruit off when you're tying them in. Just a little wire twisted, that keeps them tied in, so that keeps it nice and compact. If we take notice here, most of the trusses are facing forward. I will show you, I'm going to plant some up further along, and I'll show you exactly what we do to make sure that this happens. So basically that's it for the moment. We are going to start feeding, and I will feed with a high potash feed into here, a liquid feed once a week. Right, we've just taken a look at the larger tomato plants that I set away earlier. This batch here that we're coming to, and these plants that we're coming along to, these are cuttings that I took earlier on, which you would have seen off a previous video. I took the cuttings and I just put 5 or 6 around a 5-inch plant pot, just in ordinary compost. They've rooted up, they've made nice plants, and they've actually got their first truss on already, and the plant is only about 5 or 6 inches tall. It's just starting to flower there. Now, I mentioned before the trusses were all facing forward. Try and find that truss on the small plant, which we can look on here. This is a cutting which needs to be tidied up, but there's a truss here. I'll make sure that truss faces me when I'm planting it, and that way the rest of the trusses will form. There's another one there, look. So you can see they're all going to come the same direction. So all the fruit's going to be on my side rather than the opposite side. So this just one's tidied up. Just remove that, and I'll remove those bottom leaves aren't looking that healthy, so I will remove those just with a knife. Don't snap them off just in case you tear the stem of the flesh on the main stem. So that's ready to plant. Now I'm going to show you what I plant in. We'll take a look in these containers. Last year's compost I didn't want to waste. It's very dry, but I have just used it. I've mixed it up. You can see on the floor there's a bit of a mess where I've actually sort of mashed it up, and then I have added John Innes fertilizer, base fertilizer, at 6 ounces per 100 litres, and I've actually filled the bottom half of the pots with last year's compost. This particular compost, this is my fresh compost. This is a mixture of John Innes number 2, which is this bag here. I haven't used that neat. I have mixed it with Clover Professional compost, just like what you class as a multi-purpose, and we'll top that off. So that's topped up. We've now got a nice young tomato plant from a cutting. These are cuttings, if you remember. This variety is Gold Star, which is an old variety. We'll just make a hole. Just put it in. I've planted that about 2 inches deep. The stem will root up, and that'll end up a really thick stem. And as you can see, there's 2 trusses, and that plant's only a few inches tall. Now this is a 35-litre pot. Several people have said to me, you don't need to grow in that size pot. You certainly don't need to put it in any size pot you want. What you will be rewarded with, the bigger the pot, the better that you prepare everything, the better your plants will be and the better your crop will be. I've grown in these pots now for several years, and you can look back through previous videos I've done. I always have a bumper crop of tomatoes. I would hope and anticipate that this year is not going to be any different. One other thing, we move on. These are late set seed. This is Maisie. This is the same variety that we planted from the early ones, but I set this seed much later. Just tidy that up. That's a nice stocky little plant. Again, we'll just look for the truss. There is a truss there. You see that, and we'll plant this again. This is only a 30 litre pot, but it's just so as it fits in. We'll put that in the compost 2 inches deep. Just fill the compost in around it nicely. You see the truss is facing me again. These will all get tied in, and I'll just repeat the process that we've just shown you. Make sure you give a good watering in. I'll probably put half a gallon of water around each plant.